Canary, by Cloud 9 and 3/4. Chapter 11. Don't be afraid to sing along to the rhythm of your heart. Midoriya was acting a little off recently. At least that's what Shinso was thinking at lunchtime that Wednesday. For one, he had been listening to a lot of music. Midoriya had never really struck Shinso as much of a music lover. Although the fact was true that they hadn't known each other for very long, Shinso couldn't help but feel that it was odd that Midoriya was so entranced by whatever he was listening to. In gaps between lessons, he would listen to music staring at the wall blankly, and then suddenly pull out a notebook titled Quirk Analysis, before turning to a new page and frantically writing in it, all the while his headphones were still firmly glued to his ears. Secondly, he started talking a lot more. Sure, this was a good thing, but Shinso wasn't too sure how he felt about it. It wasn't that he didn't want Midoriya to talk. Quite the opposite, actually. It was just that Shinso hadn't expected him to open up so quickly over the span of only a few days. He still refused to utter a word to anyone who wasn't named Shinso, or Uraraka, Ida, or, weirdly enough, Prison Mike. But the stutter was starting to fade from his voice. He no longer felt the need to hesitate before speaking, and was gradually increasing in volume. But no, Shinso shouldn't have been including this factor in his mental list. This was probably the best thing that had happened to Midoriya in a while, and Shinso wasn't about to question it. The third weird thing happened at lunchtime. Uraraka and Ida didn't always sit with Midoriya and Shinso, so it wasn't that strange that the two of them were sitting by themselves. It was near to the end of lunch, which was the best time to go there because there were normally more spaces free and less social interaction was therefore required. However, this was not the case today. For some reason, a lot of the hall was still full when Midoriya and Shinso arrived. Consequently, they had to sit closer to the middle of the hall. Time went on, and the awkward second years that he had been forced to sit next to left, leaving Midoriya to sigh audibly in relief as he gave up tucking his elbows in. That didn't last long, however, because the queue for food was still long, and there were few other spaces that sat a relatively large group. That meant that the rest of their table was the perfect place for someone else to claim. "I found a table!" yelled an overly enthusiastic blonde, who didn't even bother checking if it would be okay with the general study students as he plonked his tray down. Not on the other side like a normal person would, but instead right next to Shinso. Sorry to barging in, apologized the redhead as he slid his tray next to the blonde's. "Doesn't matter," grumbled Shinso. "We're almost finished anyway." That was when things started to become, well, suspicious. Moments after Shinso's mood got even worse due to the fact that he had just recognized this group of friends as students from Class 1A, i.e. the hero course he was supposed to be in, a girl with bright pink skin skipped over to the table, put her food down beside Midoriya, and sat down. She waved at Shinso's shy friend, and then did a double take. "Hey!" she grinned, giving Midoriya finger guns. "Well, if it isn't..." He gave her a wide-eyed look, his noodle suspended halfway to his mouth. The pink girl hesitated, as if she had just remembered something. She clapped her hands and continued, "Rebecca's friend! Hi!" Midoriya, who looked like he was about to spontaneously combust, gave her a feeble wave and turned back to his food. Mute friend?" frowned another guy with rather large elbows as he sat down beside Pink. They started muttering about how rude that was when the redhead stood up and waved to whoever was the last to join the group. "Hey, Bakugo! Over here!" Shinso didn't fail to notice the way Midoriya flinched. He immediately put his chopsticks down, not even saying a word to Shinso as he stood up to put his tray away. "Hey, where are you going?" Shinso frowned. Midoriya didn't even acknowledge him as he turned around. The hero students seemed a little confused too. That was when Midoriya came face to face with a spiky-haired blonde with deep red eyes. Shinso recognized him. It was that guy with the explosive hero costume from the week before who Midoriya literally shrunk away from as he passed by. "Get out of my way, Deku!" snarled the hero student. Midoriya sidestepped instantly, his head down as he weaved as quickly as possible through the crowd with his tray. It wasn't long before he was out of sight. Shinzo stared at him. Yeah, there was definitely a story there. Deku, repeated Shinzo. Bakugo glared at him as if he couldn't believe some lowlife from general studies was even talking to him. He didn't say a word in reply. Shinzo got to his feet and marched to the other side of the table where Bakugo had sat down opposite the redhead. Why did my friend just abandon his food and run off at the mention of your name? How am I supposed to know? Sneered Bakugo, who was rather focused on adding as much jelly to his food as humanly possible. I don't know, frowned the redhead. He seemed rather freaked out by you, man. You know each other or something? Shinzo had never seen someone close a bottle of sauce with such menace. Is a Quirkless wimp I knew from middle school who liked to turn tail and run from everyone and everything. Anything else you'd like to know, or can I eat my damn food in peace? Bakugo snapped. It took a moment for things to click into place in Shinzo's mind. He knew him in middle school. He called them names. Called them Quirkless. And Midoriya flinched around him like he was expecting he'd hit him. Shinzo had never been so tempted to brainwash someone to drown in their hot sauce. But that would have to wait for another time. Right now, Midoriya took priority. So, with a mental vendetta set, Shinzo grabbed his tray and joined the queue to tidy it away before running through the halls after his friend. When he first checked Class 1C, he was nowhere to be found, but by the time Shinzo had returned for afternoon registration, so had Midoriya. He was sitting at his desk, headphones on, jotting notes in his quirk analysis book like nothing had happened at all. Shinzo tapped on the side of Midoriya's desk to try to get his attention. That didn't work. Probably because the volume of his music was so loud that Shinzo could almost hear it. So he was forced to get out of his seat, tap Midoriya on his shoulder, and sit back down again so he could participate in the conversation. What happened back there? Shinzo questioned. Midoriya blinked at him like he wasn't quite sure what he was talking about. Nothing, was all he signed to reply. It wasn't nothing. You jumped up like you'd had an electric shock and almost ran away from that guy. Midoriya just shrugged. Shinzo would have pressed for more information, but President Mike had just started the register, and Shinzo wasn't too sure how much of this Midoriya would want his teacher knowing. Shinzo kept forgetting they weren't the only ones in the school who knew sign language. The rest of the day continued as normal, much unlike the Wednesday the week before, which was rather disjointed thanks to the attack at the USJ. But as soon as the final lesson came to a close, Shinzo grabbed Midoriya's backpack, stopping him from leaving. Catching the gist of the scenario, Midoriya sat back down and waited glumly, headphones hanging around his neck, as the two of them waited for the rest of the class to leave. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out that way because the almighty President Oshi watched them like a hawk and refused to leave until they did, ushering them out of the classroom. Shinzo grudgingly gave back Midoriya's backpack as they met Uraraka and Ida by the front gate. Stammered Midoriya just before they started walking. Shinzo and I have a project due tomorrow? He lied blatantly. Shinzo tried to keep the shock out of his expression. So, we're going to stay behind today for a while. You two can go on without us. His stutter was back, showing how nervous he seemed. Oh, that's okay. Uraraka smiled. You've been awfully busy recently, haven't you? She acknowledged. You seem to stay behind at school a lot. A diligent response to the amount of work our general study peers receive, Ida exclaimed. No matter. We will see the two of you tomorrow. So, the only sane hero students Shinzo had encountered so far left them be. Shinzo turned to Midoriya only to see that he had already started walking away. Not back to the main campus, but down a path to the side of it. Frowning, he trailed his green-haired friend as he walked in silence. Eventually, they reached the sports hall that their class often used. Shinzo was rather surprised when Midoriya walked right up to it and pulled open the door. He wasn't sure if they were allowed in there, but he didn't question it and followed Midoriya inside. When Shinso turned back around after closing the door, he saw Midoriya on the floor pulling out the contents of his bag. He just stared at him as he shuffled around for a while, flipping through his various notebooks, messing with what seemed to be a portable speaker, fiddling with his phone. Shinso sat down in front of him, crossing his legs and tossing his own bag aside. "Midoriya," he started. His friend looked up before immediately averting his gaze. "Midoriya, what's going on with you?" Shinso frowned. He let the questions spill out of his mouth. Usually he was quiet, patient. He held back for his shy friend, but he just couldn't take it any longer. "What happened with that guy at lunch? He said he knew you from middle school, and you ran away from him like you were scared he'd set you on fire." He was kidding, obviously. But then he doubted himself, remembering Bakugo's explosion-themed hero costume. "Did he bully you, Midoriya?" He still wouldn't look at him, twiddling his thumbs and refusing to raise his head. Shinso had the sinking feeling he was right. He was quieter than a mouse when he spoke. "We lived in the same neighborhood. We used to go on playdates together when we were little. Went to the same nursery, same kindergarten, same middle school. Everywhere we go, we're always just together. This is the first time that we're not in the same class. He was my first friend. My only friend." "Some friend." There was a slight smile across Midoriya's face now, but it was a sad one. "I was there when he manifested his quirk. He was there when I didn't manifest mine." Our friendship turned sour. A kid who thought he was the best, better than Midoriya, his childhood friend, the Quirkless wimp, Deku. He called you something." Shinso frowned, recalling the nickname. Midoriya gave a small chuff of laughter. Again, there was no happiness within it. "Deku. It's a different way of pronouncing the kanji of my first name. It's supposed to mean useless." "You aren't useless, Midoriya." Shinso shot back at him. "You're as far from useless as you can get." His smile didn't change. It was like he didn't believe him. "Thanks," he murmured anyway. They sat there in silence for a moment. Shinso considered messaging his parents. He could be there for a while, as long as it would take. He didn't want to leave Midoriya like this. "He told me to jump off a roof once," said Midoriya. Shinso snapped his head up, his breath hitching. Midoriya just picked at the concrete below him. "Said that if I wanted a quirk so badly, that I should see if I get one in my next life. Take a swan dive off the roof of the building."
"You didn't seriously
consider it?" His voice had grown a little louder now. Midoriya finally met Shinso's eyes. He stayed like that for a moment, mulling the question over in his mind before speaking once more. "No, but I did wonder if anyone would miss me, I suppose. I knew he'd regret saying it. Knew it would pull his hero plans out from under his feet if I decided to..." He gulped. "But I didn't. Of course I didn't. Kachan will make a great hero. I know he will." Shinso hesitated, not sure what to say. "Kachan," was what came out of his mouth. Another laugh. "My nickname for him. I'm Deku and he's Kachan."
"You mean you just decided to call him a cutesy name and he settled with useless?"
Midoriya shrugged. "I suppose."
Screw hot sauce. Shinso was already plotting a more painful death for Bakugo. "People would miss you if you were gone,"
Shinso added, realizing he should have said that a little earlier. Midoriya did not reply. It hurt Shinso more than any words could have, but then he added, "I guess it's a different story now." Shinso wasn't sure what else to say. He knew Midoriya's past must have been bad if it left him mute, but for some reason he'd never expected this.
"Shinso, I'm not quirkless.
Okay. What? What do you mean you're not quirkless? Said Shinso, furrowing his brow. Where did this come from?
I didn't lie to you, he stammered. I didn't let anyone.
I never said you were lying, Shinso interjected, raising his hands to calm him down. That was the last thing I expected you to say. You're not quirkless?
You know that girl from lunch? He continued.
Shinso could not see where this was going, but he nodded unsurely. Anyway,
That's Mina, continued Midoriya. She joined my dance class recently.
okay, this was just getting weirder and weirder. Your dance class, repeated Shinso. Midoriya flushed red and ducked his head again. You dance? Shinzo blinked. No, I'm not insulting you. I just didn't expect it. Wow, you are full of surprises today.
He laughed again. A real laugh this time. It was small and quiet, but it was real, not pitiful or sad. I really like music and dance. I always have. I didn't know why. It was something different. Everyone there was in the same place as I was. No one made fun of me or pressured me to speak.
So she saw you dance and that's how she recognized you?
Midoriya nodded, but then shook his head. Not this time. I didn't dance.
He twiddled his thumbs again, looking up at Shinzo nervously.
I played the guitar?
Right. Shinzo just nodded repeatedly. Okay. Again, unexpected. But cool. I can't play the guitar. I'd probably, break it. Midoriya's smile grew wider.
I did break it.
You broke your guitar?
Well, kind of. It's a little burnt now.
Shinzo narrowed his eyes. You set fire to your guitar.
No!
Midoriya stuttered before wavering and adding,
Well, yes. Accidentally.
and this is during dance class.
Oh, no, this was before the dance class. Just over a week ago now. Well, I didn't set fire to my guitar. I set fire to the rain.
Shinzo couldn't help but smile at how ridiculous that sounded. You set fire to the rain. Midoriya laughed again, a lot louder this time. He was getting more confident with his confusing storytelling.
Like in the song.
You mean like the song Set Fire to the Rain?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but you've lost me.
it's my quirk.
Your quirk is setting fire to the rain.
No, the music is.
The music set fire to the... Oh, you know what I mean! Midoriya exclaimed. I really don't. Shinso replied, laughing through the confusion of it all.
Here, look,
Midoriya continued. He opened his phone, tapped a few things, and slid it across the floor towards him. Shinso picked it up. He saw a music playlist and narrowed his eyes again, glancing between Midoriya and his phone in bewilderment.
Don't bother plugging it into the speaker, instructed Midoriya. But just choose a song, any of them. I don't mind which.
Patience. Have patience with Midoriya. Good things come with time. And so, Shinso sighed and scrolled through the playlist, struggling to figure out what the songs had in common. They were karaoke versions, he noticed. Some covers, some not. And what caught his eye the most, though, was Midoriya's title of the playlist. Arsenal. Yeah, not at all worrying. He hesitated at one of the songs he recognized. Looking up at Midoriya, who seemed a little terrified, Shinso tapped on the song and set his phone down before him, turning up the volume to its highest setting and waiting to see what Midoriya would do. As the music began, Shinso watched as Midoriya crossed his legs, reaching an almost meditative pose, and closed his eyes. And then, after taking a final peek at Shinso through one eye, a wobbly smile grew across his face,
And he opened his mouth and he sung. You shouted out, but I can't hear a word you say. Momentarily forgetting Midoriya's confusing story revolving suicide, dancing, guitar playing, and setting fire to the rain, Shinso's jaw dropped as his selectively mute friend sung him. And his voice was beautiful. I'm criticized, but all your bullets ricochet. He opened his eyes again, just in time to see Shinso's shocked expression. His smile grew a little wider before he closed his eyes tightly once more like he was scared of opening them. But still, that smile continued to light up the room as his voice echoed around it. To think, all this time, the world had been missing out on such a voice because of the harshness it had been succumbed to. The very thought made Shinso's blood boil. But now was not the time for anger. Right now, his brain was still trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Why was he singing? Sure, it was incredible. But why? He mentioned setting fire to the rain. And then the song. The song setting fire to his guitar. No, the rain setting fire to his guitar. Wait, the music did it. That's what he said, right? So then, if set fire to the rain set the rain alight, you shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. And Shinso's eyes grew even wider as the skin beneath Midoriya's uniform became rigid as the texture crept up to his neckline and down his arms only to reveal it was turning silver. Like he was being coated in a metallic substance that dripped over every inch of his body. And he opened his eyes once more, and they too were made of titanium. I am titanium. Shinso pushed himself backwards as this silver Midoriya reached forward to turn off his phone. But of course his metal skin couldn't work the device. So Shinso braved himself to take it off him and turn it off himself. Midoriya's grin wavered. He had stopped singing now. They were sitting in silence. I'm sorry, he whispered. Slowly but surely, the metal was creeping away from him in the same way it had appeared, like wax melting from a candle. It took a moment for Shinso to get himself together. Holy shoot, was what he managed. Midoriya blinked at him as the last of the metal faded. That's your quirk? Shinso gaped. Midoriya scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Yeah, I haven't figured out what to call it yet. You... Shinso looked back and forth from Midoriya and his phone again. Suddenly the title Arsenal made a lot more sense. Your singing does that? Can you imagine my surprise when set fire to the rain actually set fire to the rain? Midoriya grinned. Shinso jumped to his feet. You have a quirk! I know! Midoriya leapt up to punching the air excitedly before faltering and turning back to Shinso. You're not freaked out? Freaked out? Shinso repeated. Yeah, just a little. But only because that was the most stupid awesome thing I've seen a quirk do since I made... Actually, we're not going to talk about that. Midoriya, this is incredible. You really think so? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Because, well, there's one more thing I need to tell you, said Midoriya, tensing up his shoulders in the way that he did when he was scared what someone might think or say. What did you do? It wasn't me! Midoriya replied quickly. It was Press and Mike!
Right.
He found me practicing here last week, and, well, did you hear about Canary?
Shinzo frowned. He'd heard the name being flung around, but wasn't too sure about it. Is that a new hero? Midoriya blushed for some reason.
No, actually, it's me.
You're Canary? Shinzo questioned. What do you mean?
Well, President Mike convinced me that, to improve my confidence, I could go on his radio show, but I didn't want anyone to know who I was, so, Canary's my code name.
Shinzo smiled. Your hero name. Midoriya flushed even redder, waving his arms about as he spoke.
No! I mean, not yet!
And the puzzle pieces connected together. Let me get this straight, grinned Shinzo. You're building up your confidence on the radio so you can sing in front of a crowd at the sports festival and get into the hero course. Midoriya hesitated.
Maybe?
Well, you know there are 2 spaces open in Class 1A. Shinzo acknowledged. He didn't need to say more. Midoriya flung himself at Shinzo in a grateful hug. Shinzo hugged him back, grinning. The hero course isn't going to know what hit it.
Songs used in this chapter are Titanium by David Guetta,